Too loud now or?
No, that's, I think
Okay.
it's good.
All right, no, that's fine.
All right, so we're gonna open with public comment, just general public comments tonight. I don't remember, do we need a motion to open this?
No,
No, okay,
not just for.
not for just regular public, yep, got it,
Anything that's not on
Yep.
your agenda.
okay. Anybody, any public comments that aren't on the public comment during the agenda portion of this? All right, we'll close public comments then. Approval of minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve minutes from this last meeting.
Second.
Nope, that's
All
right.
right, all in favor, say
Aye.
all opposed, say nay. Passed. The meetings, minutes from the last meeting were approved. Okay, now first on our item of business is a public hearing for the river access grant application. A motion to open that public hearing.
Motion to open. Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Aye. All right, public hearing for the river access grant application is open. So this is, we would like to file for a grant and just want to get approval. This has to go through city council, does it not, Paula?
Yes.
So it's just looking for our approval to do that.
Well, actually.
It's not our approval, I'm sorry.
Right, okay.
Want to get comments from the public for that. Yeah,
Basically, there's a requirement in the grant to have a public hearing within 6 months, which we had several public hearings on this project, but we weren't specific in the hearing postings that we were gonna apply for a grant, so they required that you post that you're actually going to apply, and then the public can comment on the application, which the application is due April 1st, so it's not completely ready yet. It's this. It's online, it's, so we're still tweaking that and getting
Right.
some things ready, but I do have Maureen from C2AE on here to answer any questions, and we have a little more a drawing. On the flip side of that, there's a map. In front of you is the easy launch system that will help people with disabilities be able to get into the water. We have a list of what we are actually gonna be asking funding for, but we're still tweaking the dollar amounts. We're gonna do two. We're gonna do one tonight and one next Monday. So this was just to give the public another opportunity to comment.
Mhm.
And I did specifically email the folks that gave me their emails. And
Is any of them with us tonight?
no,
anybody
Okay.
online?
no, just
nobody else
Maureen.
there.
And I did hear from one of them. She asked me questions about the application. I told her the same thing I told you. It's just,
Formality.
yeah, the requirement is not that I have the application ready, which I thought, I'm like, well, makes sense. You're having a public hearing about the application, but I think the intent is for the public to ask, what you're applying for and, like, we pretty much hashed this project out with the public, but if there was any more comments. So this gives us two opportunities to do that. So
In this drawing here, that is that,
this is the one that everybody seemed to be in consensus of that they wanted.
I like that style there
Yeah.
too. That's-
So trying to keep
That's a
the
nice-
access a little further away from the bridge,
Mhm.
as far away from the neighbors as we can.
Mhm.
And then, limited cement, anything that
Right.
hard surface.
Right.
Just good enough to be able to get somebody in a wheelchair
Yeah.
down to the water, So,
One question I did have about that is, you talked in the proposal, there was talk about a trail leading there, so, and into town, what was that about?
in the proposals.
I can't, I don't
That
know.
was
the
in the parks.
proposal or-
That was in the Parks and Recs one that,
Recs one,
Oh, yes.
it was for the stuff that's
Hogsback.
across the road that leads down by,
Oh, yeah, that's not.
That's
this
not in the
project,
right
no.
now.
That's not included.
Yeah,
in
not
this project.
now.
One of my questions.
that was
That's
just one of the
That'd be a
things that they did.
lengthy-
Yeah.
That would be a lengthy.
No, it's
lengthy,
not in this project at
Okay.
this time. I mean, it might be in this, like, overall plans.
That
and
was in
things,
the
but
Parks and
this
Recs
project
plan.
is
Okay, I thought that was. involved, yes.
specifically for that 1.6 acres, whatever it is, and building this launch with this capability on it. And minimal construction, really. I mean, we're not really looking to build a building or anything like
Right.
that. We just want to provide public access to the river there. So. Maureen, you have anything you want to add?
Just a couple of things. The design that you see in front of you, minimal impact relative to natural features on the site. You know, we've got, I think, one tree along the access drive there that we will have to remove, but essentially everything else is, you know, around existing trees and vegetation and such. And as Paula indicated, minimal construction because we want to keep everything essentially sitting on top of the existing surface to avoid digging up any non-hazardous materials, then that will have to be disposed of. So
Was this gated also?
We do have a gate
So
in the
you-
proposal.
Yeah.
Gated?
Well, we haven't really figured out lighting yet because we're trying to not run electricity out there, but we could have solar lights. So we would talk about lighting, but again, we're trying to keep it as natural as possible.
Right.
So if we do have some lighting out there, we would have to figure out when we want it on, whether it's solar, how we're gonna do that. And the same thing with cameras, like trail cams or something like that. And then how we wanna run the gate. Do we want, you know, like some kind of push button and that, you know? So there are some things to work out on that, you
Right.
know, or how the gate's gonna work. So those are things. Basically, this just kind of gets the idea in front of the DNR. And then if they want more information, they'll get it back to us and then they open us up to allow us to like finish the actual engineering with strong plans and, you know, so, and that will be part of the grant that they would pay for that and the bidding of it. And so this is still really,
Oh, yeah.
you know, in its infancy.
It's
Yeah.
raw.
You know, I
Very
mean,
raw.
we might be crawling now, how's that? So, but we, you know, like, I mean, for her, you know, to say a tree's gonna be removed, I mean, we're getting a little detailed there,
Yep.
right? So, but normally, I mean, we're just kind of like, we're still really, you know, we're not sure how all of those things are gonna end up as far as the gate and the solar and that kind of thing.
So like the trash and stuff like that.
Yeah,
we'll
we,
figure that
you
out
know,
later.
we will be adding into the, you know,
okay.
application, we want trash cans.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
the city will be dumping them. I got DPW working on a plan for how they're gonna, you know, maintain the site. The police working on a plan, how they're gonna secure the site, because those were concerns. And, and, you know, we're working feverishly to make sure that it's accessible. And C2A's, you know, working on the, like due care plan and that kind of thing. And that actually isn't due until October.
Mhm.
So the grant application is due now. So that tells me that, you know, they're not intending for you to have this stamped and ready to go the second they funded the project.
So how does, speaking of the funding and not, how does that work? Because obviously we're not far enough to be able to say this project's gonna cost us $37,000, right? To put that number in the grant,
We are required to have an estimate.
an estimate.
And the estimate, that's what they're working on right now, is gonna come off of this drawing, knowing that we don't want, you know, we don't want pavement. We know this thing's $50,000
Right.
or whatever, so, I mean, it's really a true estimate, but we have to be in the ballpark if we're gonna ask for funding.
Mhm.
Because then we're telling them that, yeah, this, what you give us is gonna fund this project.
Okay.
So
So we'd be okay if we said, hey, we're gonna estimate it's $50,000 and it comes in at 52, 55.
then we
But if
may,
it comes in 150,
right.
then they're gonna go, whoa.
Right, so that, you know, and then we have a match, and then normally you're in for overruns and things like that, so.
Yeah,
I
okay.
mean, when we did this project, we turned it in right around $500,000, and the original bids came in almost $300,000 higher than that. So we had to go back to the drawing board in order to build this amphitheater,
Mhm.
so.
I remember that.
I mean, it just, it happens,
Yep.
and
Oh, yeah.
right now, to tell you the truth,
Everything's
everybody,
right now.
everybody is going, okay, so today we're writing a grant, we might build this in a year and a half, 2 years.
Right,
What are the prices gonna be?
exactly.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing.
So
right there.
everybody has to be flexible and understanding that, you know, there's just no way that we know what the price of this thing is gonna be a year and a half from now. So, but it is an estimate, and that's,
Okay.
you know,
But
it's
then
like
they
if you were
understand.
building something at home, you would, you know, do the same thing, you want an estimate, and then you go to build it and something else happens, or, you know, so. But we are trying to mark off all of the items that were brought up. And I don't think anybody had any issues with any of the things that, were requested. And so we're working to fulfill those requests.
One of the issues of the thing was somebody was complaining about the bathroom. I've used a lot of boat launches in my life. We do a lot of kayak and stuff. I've never seen a bathroom in a boat launch.
See, I have seen them there,
Have you?
but
Yeah.
I would also
mean,
think,
I almost don't agree that in putting one.
well, I almost disagree with that because I'm thinking if I lived right there, I don't really want
Oh, that's
everybody
true.
peeing out in the
So-
backyard.
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
true. I didn't
so
think about
I
that.
kind
Especially
of,
walking
And
over
and that
the
would be
trees.
probably what I would do. I would
No,
go find a tree,
and I
you know?
agree with you.
Yeah,
that there's
yeah.
people-
We
But
Right.
that is what people are doing. And for me, I'm like,
Not
at least if
everybody
we
can find a
put.
tree.
and
Right,
you can-
That's
exactly.
You can order nice ones too. They don't have to be the
Yeah.
bright blue guy.
No,
you know?
yeah.
You can get them that look brown and.
Yeah, it might even blend right in there,
Well, it
so.
would if you put something there to make sure.
But
it
those are
covers it.
things,
Right.
those are the
Put hedges
details that we
and
will be
stuff.
working
Yeah,
on,
yeah,
for
yeah.
sure. But I do think that we're gonna
Camo,
bore
that'll
a
fix it.
pad for a porta potty.
Yeah.
I have,
Camel.
That's a
I
good-
have a million seeds. I can seed that whole area. We can put whatever. and
We don't
cover
want you
up
to
any-
ruin what's naturally
No, I
going
know.
on.
But we can.
Just the
we
wildflowers.
can cover
Porta
it.
potty flowers?
potty.
Yeah, there we go. The potpourri.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Okay, is anybody, nobody else is online?
Nope.
Anybody else have anything for public hearing? On the river access?
I make a motion to close public hearing.
Second.
All in favor, say
Hey,
Okay.
aye. All opposed, say aye. Okay, public hearing for the river access grant application is now closed. Sorry, what do you want me to say?
Oh, you're rubbing off? You're rubbing off?
What did I do? Okay, all right, next, public hearing for expert lawn and snow.
You're all set, Maureen. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Do we have a motion to open this public hearing?
Motion.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, public hearing for expert lawn and snow is now open. So this, for those of you, is when we approved the special access, there was sound questions and lighting questions and those type of things that we required, I assume you, to put in place to block the sound and light from the neighbor. And at that point, we said we were going to have another public access in a year, which I think it's now been about a year and a half, hasn't it? Give or take.
It was less, yeah.
Mhm.
We're a little bit off.
Little bit off, But, and just really to see if people, if it satisfied the requirements that we asked for, that the neighbors wanted. Now, I understand the neighbor has changed, but we still needed to have this public
Not all of
hearing.
them. I'm just-
Not all of them, yeah, the one, yeah, right.
Yeah, the one that the main concern.
The one with the
was,
most
yeah.
concerns.
They
yes.
left before you even really got into
Yeah,
it though,
before it
so,
was even finished.
So-
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what this is satisfying that requirement to have, the second public hearing. I don't know that there's anything we need to do. Any comments, anybody online?
I mean, if it means anything, I've talked to the new guy that lives there. It's actually an older lady.
Back to, yeah.
And his son or her son and daughter come in. I spoke with both of them, I asked if we've been making any extra noise or disturbing them. And they said absolutely not, they seem like very nice people, so I feel like the issue's resolved.
Anybody? Any other comments?
Oh, there's no one online.
So there is somebody online?
No, there is not.
Oh,
Yeah, okay. All right, I
I want to make the comment that, we did get, hear from the county building official about this site.
Mhm.
It's our understanding that there's not a certificate of occupancy yet. There's not an issued building permit yet for that use. That is a requirement for the special land use. It's actually a requirement prior to actually operating the use. So there is some concerns there.
Okay.
Is
Is
I
that,
think it's first.
is that part of the public hearing?
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Can I,
sorry. Yep.
before we move
Yep.
forward, can I comment as a neighbor?
Uh-huh.
I don't feel like I've had any issues.
Well, I
Um,
appreciate it. We try.
When we first did the thing, I thought the fence was gonna go more around, but it hasn't been an issue to me, and I feel like the sound and the light would hit me the most, and, I mean, I hear your trucks, but it's not a nuisance.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Okay.
and it's not like all hours of the day, and it's not. No. Just thought I'd throw that out there, so y'all know where I stood on all
And I got a
that.
question for you. What is the definition of occupancy?
Are you occupying the building?
Okay, all right, so that mean living there, does that mean using
All the
it?
above,
Oh,
all the above.
all the above, okay,
Everything,
so that was my question there.
Yeah, yeah, so when you apply for that building permit, and I'm not a building official, right?
Yeah.
I'm just the city's planning consultant, and have an understanding of how that goes somewhat, right? You apply for that building permit, saying that you're going to, do X amount of work, and that has to be issued, with an approved set of plans before you take occupancy of the building. And that actually
It's
should
supposed to be
happen,
done before you even start.
that's right, before you
Construction.
even start construction.
So is
That's
the
right.
work done or is the work not done?
The work to the building.
My main thing is, what is the question?
Yeah, I don't. I
Should he
guess I
not
don't
be using the
understand.
building? Should he be using the building?
So
What
you're
is the
saying I
county,
shouldn't
what's the
be-
county
I
saying?
shouldn't have my business there, or I shouldn't be occupying it as in using it, or?
Basically, both,
Yeah.
as much as we hate to say that, both, you're actually, unfortunately, I'm gonna use terms that doesn't necessarily mean, you're actually operating illegally with, by using the building
Without the permit.
without the permit. the
Without the
occupancy.
occupancy.
That doesn't give you
How
the
have
right to
how
use
have
it.
I never been told about this? This has never been brought up. I thought this was all resolved when I applied for the parking lot to become commercial. And I actually purchased the building as commercial, then it came back as residential, then I had to get it rezoned to commercial. You guys knew what I was doing there. Why wasn't this brought up?
So Silvio sent me an email, an email conversation that you and him had about getting a certificate of occupancy for the building.
No, that would be for an apartment upstairs.
That's
Well,
my question.
That
Okay,
was for an apartment upstairs,
Okay.
so it must be a misunderstanding.
well, I
That's
think
what I was
there's a
thinking.
misunderstanding in that.
I can, yeah, I could see, like he said, what's the definition of occupancy? I
Yeah.
can see how there would be a
Residents-
misunderstanding, but I understand that it's
residents
just.
need-
So
being
there
in
is a C of O for the downstairs is what we need to check on
it. So
then.
the occupancy is just being in it in general.
So what did you do to
Yeah.
what did you do to the building?
What have I done to it? So far, we've got it painted. We did some window siding, as you can see, structural as the permits that we've got. Actually, I think the guys that are working on the building have ghosted me. I haven't heard from them since they reapplied for the permit extension. So
Okay.
I
So what,
think I'm
what,
gonna-
what applied for the permit extension? For what permit?
for
For what?
the construction in the upstairs and the roof,
For the upstairs.
yes.
So you never had a permit for the downstairs.
What downstairs?
Your first floor,
garage.
your
I
first floor,
didn't,
the
I haven't
garage.
did any work down there.
I mean, that's
So what is the county asking for,
right.
would be the question. What is the county asking of Jake?
That's a good question. That's a good question.
Because if he did nothing to the downstairs, if it was zoned commercial, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't believe he would need a building permit. He would need one for converting the upstairs and for work he's doing up there. But
Right.
that's what you said you didn't want to do at this point.
He doesn't
Right,
wanna
and
do
you're
the
not working on that
apartment.
right now, right? The upstairs.
Well, it's been at a standstill for quite some time with these guys, so I don't know.
But what the permit is asking for is occupancy, just working out of it. You're parking your things in there, you're working out of it. Not necessarily working on it, right? It's just.
So I-
using
I
it
don't-
as a
To go in
place
the door of the
business.
building, it basically boils down that, to
Well,
unlock
I
that door
think-
and
I
walk
think-
in.
I think the misunderstanding was he spoke to Silvio. I did talk to Silvio about not having an occupancy permit for the apartment. He told me I need to do that. I said, I'm not ready for that.
So maybe
These
that was
guys
just a
got structural work
misunderstanding.
to do. You know what I'm saying? There's
So
lots
correct
of
me if
work
I'm
to
wrong.
do.
If I buy a building, I don't do anything to it, I don't need an occupancy.
Well, that.
That's
Not
my
what he's
question.
talking
That's my
about.
question.
But wait a
That's a
minute.
fine line there.
Yeah.
But what did he just say about structural? I mean,
But-
do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. So I guess the
I mean,
big
that's where
question here,
I'm
Mike,
kind of like, what did he?
Yeah.
just-
That's all in the prints or
Yeah.
the blueprints and stuff that you guys got with them permits for the building permit that they got.
Okay, which building permit?
You keep going back to the building permit, and
They,
that's,
Metal Masters has got a building permit to perform the work that they have performed upstairs, structural and replacing
So
the
it's
roof.
all upstairs stuff.
Yes.
So I guess what we need,
Second and third floor. There's no work going on in the first floor.
So we need to find out, Mike, if they have to have a separate occupancy to be able to be working out of the downstairs, correct? Is what we need to
Mhm.
get the
Yeah, I
permit for
guess I
that
need- I
along
need to
with,
find out
what
It
they
isn't
want,
something
so
that you
along
can
with the
just
permit for the upstairs
purchase.
work?
well, and then the comment that you got.
What
when
type
you-
of permit or what type of, I guess, what type of occupancy does like a normal business have? Like
Normally,
the
any
one across the
business,
street or,
like any business, when they go in and they actually start working in there, they're supposed to have some type of an
An
occupancy
issue,
permit.
an issued building permit.
Yeah.
Should be an
If
issue.
they
And
apply
it's supposed
for
to be
permit,
posted
If
on
there,
the
well,
building.
if,
That's right.
if there's
Is it-
changes
is it-
made.
So if
to
those
the
guys
building-
pulled the building
Correct.
permit for you and they're hanging on to it, they're screwing you because you don't have a building permit at your,
but if the building
Position.
permit was just for the upstairs, that wouldn't affect the occupancy
Right.
downstairs.
Right.
Let's go back to what I said earlier.
Right,
You buy a building, you make no changes to that building,
right.
you don't have to go to the county and get an occupancy.
And that's what I'm asking, you know,
Right.
that's what I
No.
was asking Mike, is that what they're,
No.
you know,
But
what we have
had
to
was
do?
a change in
There's a
use.
change in
Change in use, so that may,
Right.
that
And then-
may require. it,
Right, and
but
then
just-
within ours, like when you said, yeah, you guys knew what I was doing and you gave me, but what our, you know, requirements also include that, you know, you have to get any permits required and everything, you know, taken care of. So
Mhm.
it's, this board doesn't approve those permits. They're just, our board said, yep, you can have that use, but you have to make sure you get all your permits in
which
order.
was a special use permit.
Yeah.
Is what you guys issued.
Yeah.
So what else do I need?
Well, that's the question is whether there was,
Obviously, we don't know either.
Yeah. an
So I
issue-
thought, I thought I was here for the parking lot noise, but I guess there's other issues, you know?
well, that's a questionable issue, I guess, right now.
Yeah, it's,
Is because
And-
we clarified some things where our planning guys have to go in and check with the county to see if all that stuff is in order like it's supposed to be,
Right,
you know, and if your builders
And if
did
it's not,
that.
then we can tell you.
right.
So that's the only issue
Yeah, no,
with that part of it is,
Right.
I think, is just the fact that maybe miscommunication as far as up, down, around. But,
or
If
if
it
it was for
needs
the
to be
whole,
for
but I mean,
both.
we
Right.
just don't,
Could be.
so
Yeah.
I think we just
I don't
need to
know.
look at it again.
So
but-
is it gonna be an issue if we can't do anything or we don't know right now? Like, is it gonna harm him because we
No,
don't
that
know?
cord is not plugged in.
I don't
You guys can
know.
Come back and say I've been illegally operating. I mean, I obviously don't want that. I've done it
So we
for
need
how
to talk,
long?
we need to talk to Sylvia or
yes.
Rose or somebody up there.
So
and
is
find
it,
out.
is it the
Well,
city's job to talk to them or is
I'm
it
gonna,
Jake's job to
bring
talk to
this
them?
out too. I actually had a really big problem with Silvio in the past. He actually, he called me, told me I needed to get permits. He entered my building without permission. I filed a police report and all that stuff, just to put that out in the open. So there's other stuff that's going on.
So maybe we should have somebody else
Might
looking
not
into
be
it
a
or something, I
bad
don't know.
Well, we're
I
not,
don't know, I have no idea.
they're the bosses, not
Yeah,
us.
I have no idea.
I can't speak to that, but yeah, we can, we obviously need some more clarification from the building department about what's gonna be required for this use. Yeah, I mean, it was my understanding, you know, he forwarded me this email just saying that
What's required for what use, if I may ask?
your use that you're operating out of
The
that
apartment
building.
or the business?
Both.
Well, there's no apartment.
Well, we need clarification on what's required. Well, you propose
I
to do
already
it.
know- I'm already clarified
Yeah.
on the apartment.
But then you do need a,
I spoke with him about that.
Yeah, and I'm just trying to clarify for this board why we're here to talk about this right now, because there's obviously some question about what building permits are required for him to continue operating the use. Okay. Got an email from him saying that there was no desire to pursue a certificate of occupancy. Obviously, there's some communication questions about whether that just points to the apartment.
So as far as the permits are concerned, ultimately, we need more information from the county level.
Sure.
right, I mean, we don't know what we're talking about.
And the county needs an explanation from Jake on what he's doing. You know,
And what he needs-
They've
Like,
already,
be upstairs,
that
yeah.
stuff's already been all submitted, all the plans and everything. As far as the structure and the roof goes, I haven't moved any farther past that. Them guys haven't completed that job yet.
So the question is that, I mean, they had to get a permit for that.
Correct.
And if they got a permit for that, then maybe what Sylvia's,
Well, that
Talking
permit,
about.
that permit has just been extended through communication through Sylvia and.
so you're supposed to, okay, if you're gonna make changes to a building, you're supposed to get plans.
Yeah.
You apply for the permit, the county approves the permit,
Yeah.
you complete the work, the county comes out, they do an inspection, and they probably come out 2 or 3 more times because they find things that you have to correct,
Correct.
okay?
Yeah.
And then at that point, they give you a certificate of occupancy.
Right.
You're not supposed to be in that building until that happens.
Not supposed to be working. on it.
No, working on it. You're not
Working
work
out of
it.
it.
Yeah, sorry. I mean, that's how it's supposed to work.
So on November
So as long-
30th, you contacted Silvio and asked him to extend the permit, and he said he would extend it today, the building permit.
Was that from me or was that from Nick? Nicholas Clough, or was that from me?
It was sent from you to Silvio and care of Nicholas Klunk.
Okay.
And it's the 4th page where the message came through. And it said right at the top page, got it. I will extend the permit today. Thanks.
Yeah, that's the last communication I've had with the builder. So I'm running through that issue too.
This is really a call for Sylvia and those folks.
Right.
I mean, what did he need to do in terms of permits? What did you need to do in terms of permits to run your business out of the first floor?
I came and got it
No,
zoned. for-
no, no.
No.
You need a special use. You came and got that, right? I'm talking about building permits.
They got plans drawn up from an engineer.
That's for upstairs.
Correct.
I'm not talking about upstairs. I'm talking about the first
I
floor.
haven't did anything down on the first floor.
So we need to get approval from the county that you don't need to have a permit and occupancy permit for that.
Or that you do because there's.
Or that you
structural
do,
issues.
that there, yeah, right. Right, the county needs
Because
to
we
tell
don't
us.
know which way.
We don't
Yeah, we don't know if they need one or not.
Right.
Well, there's not really structural issues. It's just, they were rebuilding some stuff to support stuff that was sagging and stuff like that. Honestly, everything's.
Those are structural issues. I hate to tell you that, but they are. Anytime you have to restrut a roof or a ceiling to take a sag up, you're restructuring that and should be approved to be done. It's still building.
Yeah,
But, you know, that's,
isn't that what was gone through in the permits that they applied for was for the structural and the roof?
I did not see your permits. We just approved that we would allow you to have a business down there or change.
We approved
If you got
a
all-
special use.
Right, everything done.
Right.
Yeah,
The
so then
same-
also if everything would have been done, then an inspection would have come through when he should have had the inspector. Did somebody inspect the structural stuff?
I think Sylvia's been through there one time.
Well, if he'd give you a tag,
Yeah, you'd have a tag
It's
for it.
not finished, though. It
Well,
wasn't.
That's maybe really.
I think it was just quite some time and he was pretty itchy to get in there. This was actually after the time where he came in unwelcome and then he called me. Cussing and swearing and everything in between, so.
well, besides that, I'm kind of concerned myself with some of the parking things that I see going on, and I thought we had an understanding that we wouldn't cover any sidewalks. You wouldn't be parking in front of the apartment because there's no apartment there. And you're doing that. And your trucks are covering the sidewalk when they're outside of the garage. The tail end of them are out over the sidewalk, so if there were kids walking there, they'd have to walk out in the street. That's a no-no. Big time.
Yeah, understandable. I know that.
Well, the problem is we have the right to shut you down on that. I don't want to do that. I want you to straighten yourself out.
I understand. I want to keep my business in Langsberg, but
Right, well, I'm just saying that
It's been quite a struggle. so
We've
far.
got
You
a
see what I'm- you see
controversial-
What I'm trying to do down here. I mean, that's a big face coming through town there, you know? And I've basically had no lenience at all.
well, we try not to give anybody a lenience. Go down to the greenhouse down there and talk to him. You know,
Well,
his
yeah,
house has been sitting there for over a month. He'll get pushed to get it cleaned up. And that's what we're doing, is trying to keep the city in good order, low noise,
Yeah. I
keep your
understand.
customers and people happy. And then also the fact is we're taking care of everybody else in the same tune. And we have to look at kids, we have to look at pedestrians, we have to look at all that. And unfortunately, we do miss a lot of stuff. But in your particular case, because you do stand out so far out there, those are just some infractions I've seen that I would personally, I got a picture on my phone where your truck with a plow sitting out there over the front end of the building.
I
And
bet.
there is a ton of salt on the side, on the cement there where that truck was loaded with salt.
Oh, the truck wasn't loaded there with salt.
Well, you threw a lot of salt out, about 150 pounds out on that drive.
I did, the whole road floods down there and I get 4 inches of ice on the concrete. I mean, it is what it is, you know, I'm stuck at that end of it too, so. You know, I'm guilty for what I did, but, you know, I probably got the same pictures on my phone as you do of everybody else on the same corner, you know? I'm just saying.
Your situation, and I'm not hammering on you. I'm just trying to explain to you, your situation is the same as anybody else's. Everybody else would have to do the same thing.
Right.
Well, as a matter of fact, your local roots is on the same setup as you are. Special land use, special permit. If things don't work out right and you don't play the game we want you to play.
Yeah.
And I'm just saying that's what we have the right to do. I don't think there's anybody in here that wants to see that happen. But we do want to see the park right
Right.
and make sure your
So-
vehicles are right. And I would say that until we get an
Yeah, I
answer
totally
on this, I
understand
would
that.
say that you need to start addressing and finding where you're parking and make sure they're good. I know it's an extra hassle, but it takes one more big lump off our back for you.
So
I
what
do
we're,
have
what we're
something.
asking, so go ahead.
I do have something slightly associated with that. As far as, I don't know the laws and certain things, but I do know that the curb right there that you pull over the curb to park your big trucks and your plow trucks and that stuff. I understand it's convenient, but at some point, like the city council and stuff, we all have to like vote to fix all the curbs again. And we just did a whole like road thing and, you know, fixing curbs and this and that. And I feel like that's just gonna put a whole lot of stress on that as well. I don't know, you know, this or that, the drains there and the curbs there. But I know that you can drive these ones, but I don't know. I don't know how hard. It would be a pain in the butt to do it the other way, but
Well, those
It's
type
still-
of situations would be something that we probably should look at, see if there is a cure for that, you
Yeah.
know, or not, but.
Or those are things we should be
Yeah,
looking
I
for.
honestly
Yeah.
thought about, you know, that when we got the parking lot paved, but, you know, I was basically told nothing from the curb overs.
Right.
Or just from the curb.
But it might be something worth looking into, like maybe just like, I don't know, get rid of it or something. I don't know.
might
So I
need that
have no
curb cut
clue.
out of it or something.
Yeah, I don't know how it would go because
I don't know
the
either.
water coming from the top of the road.
The
comes
water
in
is
parking lot.
crazy
If
right
that
there.
curb was gone, I think it would
Right,
wash
if
the
it's-
side of the
Oh, it
building
would.
out. I do.
Well, that's some things that our DPW should probably look at and stuff too, and I don't want you to think that I'm down on your case. I'm just, there's a lot of different things going on in the city right now.
Oh,
And
yeah.
you can see it all over, and it's a matter of keeping
mean-
your thumb on it, or it will be crazy and it won't be.
Oh,
businesses.
That's,
So,
My personal thing is we get an answer maybe on the occupancy, and then we'll work from there. And I'd just like to see you clean up your parking with your trucks. I mean, these are other pictures I have, but I got one I seen the other day, and you know, it's just,
so let me summarize and correct me. So we need to figure out the occupancy. We need to figure out the permit. You need to figure out the permit.
Which
Mike, can you help him with
Occupancy.
that?
the
Or
occupancy permit.
the building permit,
Okay.
occupancy permit, right?
Okay.
What did you need? And is the upstairs
It's
different?
not
than
the
the
building
downstairs?
permit, just so we're clear.
I
It's the
think I
occupancy.
think I have everything for the building permit. I've talked to Silvio.
But that's still a building route permit. once filed, is you can't enter the building or you can't use the building for its intended use until you get occupancy.
You're right. So
Is that correct? Is
building-
that what we're all trying to say?
Building
So
permit
it's kind
comes
of
first.
coordinated,
Right,
Plan
right?
review to go start to work, right?
Mhm.
Plan,
Yep.
you get your plans approved, you start to go to work.
Yep.
You do the work.
Yep.
Final inspections come, you get them, you get it done, you get the inspections approved, then you get your occupancy.
And one of the questions I have, did
That's
he
what we're
need a
looking for.
building permit to move his business into the first floor? We don't know that.
That's what we should get from.
That's
Sylvia.
what we need to
That's
get
what
from
we need to
Sylvia,
get from Sylvia.
right?
Yeah,
Like,
'cause
understand, the changes he's making upstairs and putting an apartment and all that stuff requires a building permit. Does that affect his first
Right,
floor?
and that's what we need to find out.
That's what we need to, that's why I
Yes.
said the building.
Yes.
That's right. We know that there's a building permit that's been
Because we
pulled.
know that it's
You know,
For
there.
we know that there's
upstairs.
been one that's been pulled.
Is
Yeah.
I
that
don't know what the
something that
scope of
should
that
have
work is.
normally been addressed first off, and it just got looked over?
It sounds like the miscommunication
So,
Because I mean.
that was there.
I mean, if I bought
before.
this building and I planned on moving my business there and I planned on doing work,
so
I should know that I can't move my business there until the work's complete.
And that's the miscommunication when the
So-
permits were first pulled and things like that through the county,
Or could be.
or could be. Yes, it very well could be. That's what we've got to find out here.
And we're willing to,
Yeah,
to let it set where it's at until we find out what's really going on. Because
Yes.
it would not be
Yes.
right for you.
But
either.
what does that mean? We are gonna find out.
I didn't say we.
Oh,
He
okay.
said, we're willing to sit.
We are
Okay.
yeah.
So-
I'm like,
I was gonna
well, I
say,
heard
what
the
did-
word we.
There's no
We
mouse
need
in
to-
my
All
pocket.
right, so let's
What
put
did
it,
I say? We are.
let's put it back on
You
the
want me to
agenda.
play the tape back?
Sure.
Okay.
Let's put it on the planet or on the agenda for next month to
Yes.
revisit this. Let's have answers, should be able to have answers on building permit by next month, right? Should be able to.
Occupancy permit?
Yes, I can,
Need to
Yes.
know if
Needs to know where the status is.
you can occupy the bottom while the top is still being done.
Here, I need to know, I need
I
to
know, I
know the
think that we
information I
need
need to
to-
look for. And
Yeah,
it'll
too
be
many
through
people
the
talking.
county, correct?
That's why I'm kind of,
Yeah.
say that again,
It'll be through the county,
be
correct?
Sylvia, through the county, or, I mean, should we get Pete involved?
I
Talk-
will reach
let's
out,
get Pete
I will
involved.
reach out to the building department.
Mhm.
I'll have a detailed list from the
Yep.
building official saying exactly what's needed for this building before next week.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, perfect,
Thank you.
perfect. Yes.
And I'll make sure that goes to you.
Okay, appreciate that.
And then the other thing is, there are spots out front that you are not supposed to be occupying, as I understand it, that you are. We'd like you to not use that. We don't want your trucks hanging out over the sidewalks that require pedestrians, kids, adults, all alike, having to walk in around your trucks to get through them, right? We want them to be able to use a sidewalk like they should.
Understandable.
So I think those are our asks. Did I miss anything?
Nope.
But I, yeah,
Nope.
so those three things are what we're gonna ask of you, right? And so, I don't think the last two are, I mean, they're actionable on your part, but there's nothing we're gonna review next time, right?
So I guess quick question, if something comes back, I need an occupancy permit, I can't be there until the building is complete or the building permit is satisfied. What's gonna happen?
So,
I mean, are you guys gonna be like, you gotta shut down? Because I need to start planning for this. We're about to get really busy and I mean, I gotta plan for this ahead of
I
time.
think as long as you're
If I
moving
can't work
forward,
out of there, I
and a
gotta.
bit of that depends on what Mike finds out, what we find out, right?
And what
Do-
he
Are you
finds
gonna
out.
have, yes, what do you find out, right? I would call, even though Mike's gonna talk to the building, you should still call over
I
there.
will.
Because frankly, it's your responsibility to get
Right.
these building permits and to get these occupancy permits.
Right,
It's not, it's your responsibility to do that.
right.
Okay, I mean, I'm a building owner.
See,
I've
I
done-
thought-
and it's been
see,
my
I did
responsibility.
speak with these guys on the planning commission before and, we're gonna
Special-
help you through all these.
Special
steps.
use,
You know,
changing the business. It has nothing to do with the building. Now, there's no reason why a building permit for the apartment upstairs should stop you from occupying the downstairs from your business. Now, maybe there's another reason they don't want you in there. Maybe there's something they think you need to do in order to occupy. We won't know that until we get more information.
right.
But the apartment should not stop you from being in on the first floor. You know, Again, not saying they aren't gonna come back and go,
Yeah.
you need to do this and this and this before you can occupy the first
Yeah,
floor.
I'm
We don't
just
know.
wondering, I'm just wondering, worst case scenario, you know, if something, because I haven't heard from these guys. Obviously, I'm probably gonna have to get a different contractor in here. I searched for over 6 months to find somebody to do this work in the first place. It's not gonna happen overnight, you know? I got legal issues to battle and all that stuff in between finding somebody else to finish the construction. So, you know, if it's gonna come back in a week or two and I gotta finish the project before occupancy and I can't run my business out of there. I kind of need to know, you know, I need to plan for this, I guess.
What are our rights as a planning? I mean, if, let's just hypothetically say the building permits are all there. Then there's really not a whole lot that needs to be done. But if it's not an occupancy on the first floor, then that's my question is what recourse do we have to, can we set our own parameters as far as working with people and so forth?
You can just understand that if you're gonna set it for one person, then it
You have
can't
to
be
do it for
applied to
everybody.
anybody. So
That's the key.
that's,
Well, that's what
So
I'm
I'm gonna-
saying, and you know, you talked to me about that before, so that's why I'm looking at worst case scenario.
Right.
Because
So-
I have a feeling that's what's gonna happen.
So I'm not sure this is, correct me, this is our issue, right?
Right.
We have the special use, right?
Right.
But it's the county that's gonna say, you can either be in there or you can't.
Right, it's not us.
It's not us, but there's no way is it us, right? Now, we have the occasion to say, okay, you don't have an occupancy permit, we're gonna revoke your special use permit, right?
Right.
But we gotta figure out what the county's gonna do first, before we can even talk about what we're gonna do with that, so.
So what does this planning commission need from the county in order to determine whether the special land use is
In
compliance-
violation or
in
whatever.
compliance with everything that you've asked it to do? As far as they go. Now, you guys can look at the special use permit, and if there's issues that you see that have nothing to do with the building department,
Right.
that's one thing. But if you're looking directly at this for any issues according to this email from whoever it was from,
Well,
anyways,
Silvio.
Silvio, there we go, it was from Silvio.
So
Building permit,
What
Silvio.
we need is that the county is okay with them occupying the first floor. And I'm not gonna say an occupancy permit, because if he doesn't need a building permit,
Well, right.
he's not gonna get an occupancy.
But I think that way, if you guys all agree, that makes it easier for him and for you to tell the building department, the planning commission, you know, would consider revoking this if it is a requirement of yours that these haven't been met. If not, then then we stand where if he doesn't need a building permit, then is he okay to
That's
use the
fair,
first
yeah.
floor?
Right.
I mean, I think that's all,
Absolutely.
that's all you guys are looking
Right,
for
yeah,
on that. And you're
It's not
not,
that we want your business gone.
Yeah.
and you're not
Obviously.
suggesting revoking it
Definitely
for
don't.
the parking, you're suggesting
Yeah.
No.
Right.
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 that
We
you
just
want
need
him
to
to correct
confirm that
it.
everything is in compliance.
Right.
Yeah, I understand about the parking over the sidewalk and how
Yeah.
that's different from what we're talking about. So basically with the county, long story short, I need to figure out if I need an occupancy while the construction is going on or the building permit.
I would ask it a different way.
Ask
myself.
them
I would ask
everything
them
that
if
you
my
need to
building
be-
permit covers my whole building. And if I am eligible to use the first floor as my business, and I don't use the second floor or get an occupancy right now.
Okay.
That way they'll tell you, if you've got everything you need, you got it. If you don't, they'll tell you what you're missing.
And I know you can do that. I know you can have a building permit for the first floor and a building permit for the second floor.
Okay.
I've done it. I know that's, I mean.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
mostly dealt with single floor
I was
houses.
gonna say, yeah.
In fact, I've had three.
But the
permits on
businesses
those.
downtown like yours,
Mhm.
they still had them running and they were working upstairs, so it was a separate building
Separate,
permit.
separate.
You know,
building.
Same way with
Everything
Dean.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
But, you know, bottom line of this whole thing here is just getting the overlay of
Yep.
the special land use and making sure everything is correct for you to continue doing what
Yep.
you're doing.
Right.
So it doesn't get out of control.
Let's talk about a different subject slightly. How, and there may not be a good answer to this. How did we go this long without you knowing there was a problem?
Miscommunication.
With the occupancy,
With the occupancy?
I thought my permit, my special use permit and me applying for the business and getting it all commercial. I mean, and then I ran everything, just nothing was ever said. I guess this is my first time, going through this. I've never.
Haven't we reached out to you?
I don't think I would have known either.
I mean, if you look
No,
at
I
it,
don't
like,
think we
we
reached out to
gave
them
the,
after,
the
We
dollar
were-
store, we gave the dollar store permission to build a dollar store, right?
Yeah.
But we haven't followed up with any of their
We haven't
permits.
seen- yeah.
That
Right.
falls on the county.
That falls on the council.
So I don't know
Yeah,
that,
yeah,
I mean, I don't know that this board normally knows if
Right.
there's something like
Maybe I'm
that.
asking a question. We shouldn't.
Well, no, but the
Okay, we
reason
typically
we're having
found
this
out beforehand.
discussion is
Right.
because,
I
you
get,
know,
yeah.
yeah, but I'm just saying, so, I
Mhm.
mean, that's not something that you guys would normally follow up
Right.
on,
Right,
or,
right.
that, I
And
mean,
like I said earlier,
That's why
it's
we
his
got Mike.
responsibility, right?
Poor
To,
Mike.
to know that, and, or your
Right.
builder, to know.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
And that's one of
Frankly,
the other
that's-
things too, is that permit, talking about the permit not being there. I mean, technically, a building permit's supposed to be visible,
Posted.
posted
Posted,
at
yeah.
that building so it can be seen from outside. And if your builder hasn't given you one for the outside of that, that's
Probably don't
something,
have a permit.
that's something
that's
that
a
you may
point.
want to check into to verify. And
So if I don't physically have the papers, that's something to go through the county?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes,
Get it off the
yeah,
counter.
because you need to,
it's all county.
you definitely need to
Yep.
get that through the county to get that down there.
Yeah, Jeff and I spent 7 months renovating the space there on the corner for the salon. We had to have all the permits posted.
Yep.
Constantly, and when the inspector would go through, he would check off things that they're done, so anybody going by, oh, those things are done now. So
Right.
it was kind of a running checklist, this is done, then you're given your permits, okay, you can occupy it.
Right.
That's how kind of it wasn't special use though, was it? It
It was
just
not,
a
a spe- that was
regular
not a
business.
That
special.
one wasn't, yeah.
No.
But that's something else that you definitely want to check into with the county, to
Okay.
getting that.
If you've got an issued permit, we'll give one. We'll
Yeah.
give you that paperwork.
Yep.
Can mail it to you or let you pick it up, however you want it.
We've all learned a lot here today. At least I have, there's stuff I didn't understand.
Yeah,
I'll make a motion to come out of public.
I second that.
Okay, all in favor?
I,
All opposed? Okay. All right, all others, next thing, educational opportunity.
Is that the email?
Dina,
Or is
how's
that
the
Dina?
education been going?
well, Dina also was gotten very smart, I think, so we have to find out.
There's actually one going on right now from 6 to 8, and I have, it's recorded.
Thank you.
But then
See you,
this
Jake.
was
Thanks for
something
your
that
time.
came up. that
I
you
can
all
watch
wanted
it
to-
One that we just
tomorrow.
got.
Yeah, so if anybody was interested, to go into that, the city pays for these if somebody wants to go.
Oh, marijuana. Oh.
I don't know if this one has, I don't even know if this has a fee to tell you. the truth.
Where?
That's why
Um,
you don't drive school bus, Homer.
Right.
The stuff that I've
I
been
gotta
doing
say,
is
when Dina was talking about
knowledgeable.
seeds, I was wondering what kind of seeds you were talking
Not that
about.
kind. I have flowers and veggies.
you got any big pumpkins?
I do.
Make it a sunflower party.
And it's supposed to be random.
Nice.
You name it, I probably have it, if it's a flower or vegetable.
What?
Seeds.
Oh,
He's still
we're still talking about
I'm
marijuana.
not talking about
Roads, we don't
marijuana.
need
That's
no
why she-
roads.
that's why
That's
she
what
said
this
that's
school
fine.
is training.
I know,
That
but
one,
we're
yeah.
talking about seeds, and he said, what, are you gonna plant marijuana seeds? And I said, no, I have veggies and flowers.
Hey, you can like keep everybody pretty mellow around here, though.
And keep them fed with our baked goods.
There you go.
My training, it's been pretty knowledgeable. I would suggest if there's more, then you guys all jump on board, because I have learned a crap ton about zoning and just lots of things. Obviously, I still have more to learn, and tonight was actual planning one. But I was like, okay, I'm gonna go to the meeting and watch it tomorrow morning.
I was gonna say, you probably can still watch it. That's. the
Yeah, they have
beauty
it
of these.
recorded.
Yeah.
So it's podcast, you can watch it and then
It's
after,
a
if you
Zoom
miss it,
call that's recorded, but it's
Okay.
on the website. I
it's
don't-
archived, you can go through.
Yeah, I
It's
don't
like
know if
all of our
anybody can,
meetings
but I
are
think it
recorded
is.
too, and we had a training one that we did here, which if you haven't watched it or you want to refresh yourself, but I think it was a pretty good night.
That was a
you
great
know,
night, that one.
So
Which
The-
one, maybe I should look at it, what was it?
I think it was about a year ago.
Oh,
Yeah.
ours?
The title of it?
January.
It might even be a year exactly.
was
Yeah.
a-
Because I think it was right after.
It
the
was like
January meeting.
January, February, March,
Yeah.
2021.
January.
What
Somewhere
was
in
the
there.
title?
It was the planning commission meeting,
Oh, okay.
and we had a
Oh, I was
training.
here. That's right. I was here.
Yeah.
It would have been February,
Yeah,
because I wasn't.
yeah,
I
I was not
I was
here.
not here, I was on my
Okay.
snowmobile trip,
Okay,
and that would have been like the 24th.
So it was it was probably February.
February,
then.
yeah, February, yes.
There you go, we pinpointed it for you.
Yeah,
There you go.
next day after my birthday.
But the other one is the Michigan Association of Planning. And that's the place that she signed me up for it. I asked who signed me up for it. But it was, I think I'm on like my 5th class. Tomorrow will be my 6th class. And today is planning and zoning essential. I've had like the risk management and all that stuff. And it's been, there's a lot of stuff I did.
Are you doing the citizen planner series?
No, that's
No.
not what it is.
Oh, what is it?
They came up, somebody, was
I got
was
it
it
in
the
the mail.
MML?
No, it's the Michigan Association of Planning.
Okay, so they sent out an
Yeah.
email that they were having a
Yeah.
series of trainings, but it isn't that. I mean, I went through that
You did go through
series.
that, okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
that was a
it's long.
long, that was probably
I got a
600
brochure in
months.
the mail.
Yeah, it's a long time.
That was a long one. There was a lot of
There's a
reading,
lot
and
of
a lot of
content
time.
to
So I
cover.
went through that one. But this is
Yeah, I
different.
got a stack of books shipped to me.
I don't
and-
really think they had planned it on somebody
I
doing
did.
them
I was like,
all.
oh my
But
God.
I'm like, are you sure you want to do this?
I said, if I'm gonna be on it, I'm on council planning
Yeah.
and zoning, I need to know a lot more.
And
I was
so,
like,
but
let's
there
just go
is a
for it.
lot of,
There's a lot
I
that
mean,
goes into it.
but you don't have to, you don't have to dive into.
Oh!
What on earth?
I told her all these classes she was gonna run for mayor.
That's right.
Oh,
And that look, and that look, oh.
I'm glad she didn't have a 357 in her pocket.
but anyway, you don't have to take all of them. You can take one class every now
Yeah.
and then. Anything helps. And some of them are free. And if not, the city does, cover the cost. And I can help you get signed up.
It was $700 and I didn't have $700, but I was like, if you guys want to pay it. So they got it. It was
That's a worthy
definitely worth it.
investment. And I
Yeah.
mean, over the years, it's been hard for me to
For sure.
get people to take those trainings, and I'm appreciative that she wanted to.
It's
So,
great. It's always a good idea.
Capital Improvement Program Workshop. I did that one first. So.
oh, good, because we're getting ready to finish that up. Gonna need your help now.
Oh, geez. I can't say that I know as much as the people teaching it know, just in one course.
No, probably not, but
Definitely not.
Walking through it though can make you remember a lot of
Yeah,
stuff.
that's true.
Looking at
Anything
that map
else?
over there reminds me of pizza.
Education.
Pizza.
no, I was just,
Skip
this
dinner,
is
didn't you?
available if anybody wants to go, let me
Yeah,
know,
salad.
and I just wanted Dina to have an opportunity to talk about all the stuff she's been working on, so.
Can I go back to our previous conversation? Am I allowed to do that?
We have others.
I have one
Yeah,
comment.
Yeah.
When I was doing the zoning
Mhm.
class, the woman was very informative, but she said that, I'm just bringing this up because like I have you here and I'm planning and you're here, and it's probably a good time to bring it up. But she said, like, you want somebody from council on planning and then planning on zoning, but they want it to be different. And I was like, I had asked, like, is it rare, that I'm on all three? And she said it is really rare, and that's really weird. And I don't think it's an issue.
It isn't,
And I didn't think it was an issue either. Why would I be on all three?
because it's laid out in the statute what people are to be on.
Right.
And so like we know on planning commission that we're allowed to have the mayor and a council person.
And I figure it's probably
then on
different with a
the-
smaller town too.
Well, but on the zoning board of appeals, it requests a council person, right? We read that
And it
Yeah,
also said someone from planning, and I'm like, well, I guess that's double duty, so it
Yeah.
works out.
exactly. That's, you're totally right.
Right,
Paula.
and
There was
normally
like
we
a-
don't have that. We would
Yeah.
have someone out, but you were already on.
Yeah.
So we would have someone from council and someone from planning commission.
And I think that was the issue, is that there was already somebody from council that was on it. And
Right.
If we put you on it as well to be planning commission representative,
Then that was a
then we'd
problem.
be double dipping and it'd be a problem.
So that's why
So
we couldn't
that's-
have you
I mean, it
and
works out,
Marcy
it's
on
fine,
there.
but I was just,
It is
she was kind of
atypical.
dumb, but like, wait, what?
That's the
Like,
job of the mayor.
Yeah.
He's gotta figure out where you put people and where they've been and they haven't been. And
Well, I
And
mean,
I
I'm
think it's
fine where it
nice though
is,
to have
it's
somebody
good.
on there that has been on planning, because what good is it to have a
Yeah,
zoning board
they
of
go
appeals
together, so.
that doesn't understand what you all are
Right.
going through
Right.
before somebody says, well, I don't like that.
Right.
Because that, it makes it hard, you know, if you
Yeah.
didn't know anything about it and then somebody comes to you and says, well, I want you to change this driveway thing, you go, what driveway thing?
Right.
You know,
Exactly.
so I think it really
They
helps
work
to have
together hand
that,
in hand, for sure.
yeah. So-
So I wanted to go back to the expert on it snow. And we sat here and told him, hey, it's not our responsibility, which I don't think it is, to make sure he has permits. But is that something that maybe when somebody comes in for a special, use permit, that we say, have something that we go, yeah, you need to go to the county, make sure you get your.
There's,
We do that.
there's
Do we?
absolutely.
Okay, so we did that
I
with
mean, so
him.
my concern is that you guys sometimes sit here and you empathize with them, like we haven't already given them everything they
Oh,
needed. And so
My,
I know, so it's a misstep in my
yeah.
mind, because we're working in there 40 hours a week.
Mm-hmm.
We give these people their permits. We talk to them several times on the phone. We send them several emails. And they sit in front of you and tell you we
Oh.
didn't help them.
so.
So I'm just saying, I don't think it's fair to, that sounds like a criticism to staff, because we do work hard.
I
and
didn't mean
we-
it that way. In
But-
fact, when I asked him,
Right, and
my
I
point
mean, I
was that
sit
I
here
was
and I
getting-
don't argue with
my
those
point
people.
that I was trying to get to with him was, I'm sure you've been told numerous times.
Well, and that's my
What's
What the
concern is
rules are,
that,
yeah.
so I don't sit
Yes.
here and argue with them, because
Yes.
there really
Right.
is no point in that.
Mhm.
And I mean, it doesn't mean that there wasn't some misunderstanding or there was something that was unclear.
Right. Mhm.
And I can tell you what was clear to us on what happened there.
Right.
But I can't tell you whether he needed a
Right.
certificate of occupancy up there. And then sometimes, until somebody comes and tells you somebody's doing something wrong, you didn't even know.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
I didn't know about my tree.
right, and I mean, we don't run around going, hey, you planted a tree, but,
But I'm sure.
I
you
know.
know, so, I mean, we
I
do,
already got a
we
number to
really
move
do
it.
try I mean, we have a whole list, a checklist, a double checklist, and
I'm sure somebody hit this, that him sitting down in that chair and going, I didn't know I had a problem with my occupancy. I'm sure that was not the first time he had heard that.
Have
Well,
heard this,
I'm sure
yeah.
that.
well, right, and that's,
And that was kind of the point I was trying to get to was, why haven't you heard this before?
right, and I couldn't really just go,
Yeah, no, and I was I probably didn't handle, but that was what I was trying to get to was, dude, we all knew you had a problem. I'm sure we've contacted you.
right, and so when you guys say, oh, it's okay to have that use there, that's the first step. That's the very first step. They don't have any permits yet, because why would you go get permits if you don't have permission to do this, you know what I mean?
Why spend the money?
Yeah.
Right.
So
Right,
that's the
right,
first
that's
step, and then we work with them from there. And so
Right.
some people are easier to work with than others. Some
Right.
people know, like you guys, we went and did your permits and did your thing. And if you had questions, we try to help you. But we don't always know what you're doing with the building department versus
Right.
I know a lot about what's going on with the planning commission because I sit here.
Right.
But what happens on the building department, a lot of times, we don't even,
Yeah.
sometimes in our office, we don't even know if the C of O has been issued. Because that's really just a little tiny side piece of what we do, and it's like, hey, we got all this good,
Right.
Oh, and I'll be the
So-
first one to say, there can be a disconnect sometimes.
There
with
can
communi-
be.
With communication.
Sometimes we don't
Yes,
understand each other.
exactly. And yeah, for sure. I mean, if I could have told you exactly how that needed to go and what he needed to have, I would have told you. I just didn't
Yeah.
know.
No, no, no,
I
no.
need to have
Well,
that.
yeah.
I wish I would have had that lined out from Silvio for you guys tonight.
Because we
Showing
thought
you
it was
exact-
clear
I
until
thought it
we
was-
started talking to him.
Exactly. And it wasn't as
If-
clear
If
as.
you think about
what it
what he
was.
said, though, I think he knew, because he said Sylvia was really heated and really wanted to get in there to get it done, which that means there's a reason why I wanted to get in there.
I also
So-
would like to see the fact that
But
are
we
still
don't know if
live
he's
on
in there to
Facebook.
get the upstairs done. to get
Well, let
check
me,
on the
let me,
upstairs, to get
of
it
course,
all.
you
We
don't
don't
have to
know.
have a building
get
permit to do windows, but to put new windows all over.
I must have had it easy, because we got our
Did you
special use
brickwork?
permit and
He's done
our builder
brickwork.
took care of everything and we never had a problem.
What's what the builder's supposed to do?
Yeah, yeah.
Builder is supposed to.
He took care of everything.
Well, and
Handle all
then,
that.
New door, new
and then he
garage.
says he has problems with his builder. So, I mean, that's
Yeah.
another, I mean, that's just one more layer in
Yeah.
this. Something isn't right.
Especially
and-
if they're not holding.
I
out
would
the
like to
permit.
clarify that I am a very empathetic person, so I may show, empathy towards them. It does not mean that I am disregarding your work, because I know how amazing you are and how hard you work. So there is no reason that I would ever be like, oh,
But I mean,
I'm
sometimes
sorry, and then
they're
just
very
assuming-
convincing, right?
I know, but I'm just like,
Right.
I am like, that's who I
You don't have
am.
to
I'm
put-
But,
very.
you know, I mean,
So
I
that's
feel
what
like
it
when
is.
these things are gonna come up, if
I'll
we
get it-
knew
I'll
we
get it
needed
from
to
Silvio
talk
in
about what
writing
our
and
process
pass
or
along to you,
procedures
pass
are.
along to Jay. I'll make sure Jay
We
gets it
have
as
those,
soon
we
as I
have
get it.
checklists, we
Right.
have,
And that
we
way he's
really
got,
don't
some
try to
time
leave
to-
people hanging.
to
We
figure
don't.
out-
To figure out a
Right.
plan
And
present
I know
it.
that.
And
100%.
And that- I mean, that's important to me that you guys understand.
Well, that's the thing
that-
is you
Yeah,
guys
you
just
could-
start the process.
Yeah,
You're starting it. You're not the one that's
You do way
finishing.
more
and
than you need to.
and
right?
everybody
Also,
comes to us
it's-
with different levels of
He'll start here. He'll
ability
go to council
and
too, so
skill,
he'll have
and
that.
so,
time too.
you know, this
So
guy,
I-
he
if that's
said,
the
this is
double
my
duty,
first
I
time
get it.
doing it.
That's right. Yeah, it is the double duty you get.
He's a construction, whatever, how would we know that he doesn't know either?
Right.
So sometimes
Yeah.
we don't know what the applicant doesn't know.
Right.
And as much, if that was the only thing we did, that would be great. But
And I agree, he may not know the building, I mean, we all have to go through that learning process. My point
I
that
don't
I
know
was
it.
trying to make was we all knew that he had a problem, right, before he walked in.
Mhm.
But
Before
he
he
should have.
knew.
No.
I mean, before he knew.
Before he knew, that was the point I was trying
Yeah.
to make, had nothing to do with what you
Well-
or the staff, and I apologize if that's the way it came off. It was, how do you not know, right? We all knew, right?
Right. But what you said was if Mike could get something so that we could make sure these people knew they had to do these things, and we do that, is, and so.
Good to clarify.
All I was saying with that was,
Thank you, Michael.
okay, when somebody comes in for a special use, is part of that checklist, and you said that it was, okay, this is not saying you don't need to get building permits, or that's
Right,
covered.
it clearly says in there, you have to get all permits for this.
Does it? Okay,
And
okay, so that answers my
the
question. That
problem
was-
is, we
that
don't
was what I
always
was-
know what permits
Oh, I
they
get
need.
it, oh, I get it, I get it.
You're right.
I
You
get
don't
it.
know until you get into.
I mean,
that-
I don't know,
until
if
you
they're
dig
putting,
into the details.
we don't know that end of
I
it.
get it.
Comparisons,
So he was sitting there going, I had no clue,
Well,
I didn't have any idea. Well, if he'd have read the paperwork, he would have.
Right, and I kind of feel like, there was some things he knew, some things he didn't, and some things.
And he was playing dumb.
I
I
mean.
mean,
Right.
yeah.
But I feel like we need to support
There was
the
something
county
he knew
building
was
staff
going on.
I get it.
and Michael, and,
Respect.
we have to give everybody their
Or did.
chance to, help in whatever way,
Okay.
if one of us are to talk to Sylvia, we're gonna say, how do we resolve this?
Yeah.
We don't have a beef with the situation,
Mm-mm.
we want it resolved,
Right.
Right, take care of the situation.
Michael's been running fever for
so, yeah.
There's a little Michael.
24 hours. Sick kids.
Okay, anything else?
So speaking of what we just talked about, so RRC, they want, us to sometimes review, and this kind of leads into what we were just talking about is, questions that we should be asking ourselves, like about feedback we get from applicants, I mean, everybody has a different opinion, you might say it went smoothly and he thinks it went rough. So we need to be looking at, how do we smooth our process, how do we create smoother processes? And the RRC program that we belong in, they kind of want us to just like once in a while talk about that, like what we can do differently if we get feedback from people. We actually ask for feedback from people, we give them a survey and nobody fills it out. So,
Well, it's
if we-
kind of like having the public hearings all the time.
Right,
And
and
you have
so
nobody
for
here.
us, I mean, I think maybe in bigger communities, this is an easier task, but, things we should talk about, is that, are there any resources we think we could give other people, like, we could double check our checklist to make sure we're not,
Yep.
shorting people, but, I mean, there's just things, and the only other thing we can really do sometimes is give us more people to do all this, because there's like, we are wearing a lot of hats, and so when these people come in, it's like I said, we don't know whether they know as much as, a builder, or they have a builder, or, so we need to find ways of, talking about if we're getting to them, if we're getting their needs met. And then are there any opportunities for expanding administrative or planning commission approval? Like, so they want to know, like we said, with the fence, we could just give an admin approval on that or some other things. So if we come across things, they want us to look at, are there ways we can make it easier for applicants that they don't have to come to the planning
Right.
commission? Do we need to consider any zoning updates, which I think we're really good at that. If we see something, we've been really good at updating our
Mhm.
zoning ordinance.
Mhm.
We've talked about things that we need to change and we update them. So, are there any major investments in the processes needed in the coming year? Like, do we need more education? Do we need more? And I think that, we're doing that. We're
Yeah, I
working
recommend
on
it
it.
to everyone. Even if they've done it, I feel like I could go back and learn something from every single class.
And then like, maybe review our forms as a layperson and say, hey, what does this mean? I mean, you and Gail have been through, some of it. So, I mean, some feedback on, our forms or things like that, that would make life easier for people. I mean, that's kind of what we're here for. And that's what we try to do. So. Anyway, those are things that I just talked about for Christopher. I'll show him.
We need you guys to hand out one big sheet of paper with big black letters that says, do not piss off county officials.
There you go.
Because it does not do you a bit of good.
It
And we've
really
all
does.
dealt with it. Anybody that's built anything's dealt with. I
It
mean,
does-
I've dealt
it
with
does
Clinton
not-
and
It
Shiawassee.
doesn't do.
He sat there and said, Sylvia did the same damn things to me.
Yeah, I know.
You
And
walked in unannounced a number of times. I remember. It was like, oh, hi.
I had some people let the power go to their head, but I just had that stupid stairway put up there. You can't piss them off because you do it once and
Good to know.
Pete laughed at me. He goes, you know better than to piss him off. No, apparently I don't.
Yeah, it really isn't helpful.
Yeah,
I mean, if you come into our office
It was
and
you
you
that
piss-
said that to me.
and you piss one of us off, it's no better for you.
I mean,
But we can't withhold your building permits.
But yeah.
We don't have that power.
That's
right.
very true.
Anything
Big block
else?
letters.
I had somebody report me.
Do we
I
have
make a
motion?
motion